and guardrails around artificial intelligence, and by extension, who will emerge as the dominant world power is between the U.S. and China. Bob McGinnis, author of The New AI Cold War, says President Trump would do well to remember President Reagan's adage when dealing with the Russians and nuclear weapons: trust, but verify.
Well, I'd like to see some standards, some guardrails that are verifiable, that we agreed, quote, not to steal one another's intellectual property, which I won't believe.
He says the real question to be asking is, can anyone control AI? Advanced systems have been able to break out of supposedly secure testing environments, copied and hidden themselves in databases in an effort at self-preservation, and are alleged to have the ability to hack into any computer program regardless of encryption or other security measures. McGinnis says even the developers aren't sure what their technology is doing.
A lot of them say that they really don't understand what's going on inside the systems that they've designed. They can explain some of the reactions, but not all of them.
He says the U.S. is dealing with constraints that China doesn't have to deal with.
It is a tough map ahead. It really is. And I don't know that, without jeopardizing some civil liberties, which I don't support, we're going to be able to stay abreast or ahead of the Chinese in a meaningful way.
Attorney General of Alabama, Steve Marshall, made an announcement this week on a civil investigation into the Southern Poverty Law Center, alleging deceptive fundraising practices. This comes on the heels of the Department of Justice's indictment of the SPLC. Marshall was a guest on Washington Watch.
It's not just Alabama, but the state of Florida as well. When there's fraud occurring, when we also have oversight generally involving charitable organizations, we want to know who they were funneling money to, what was the purpose of that money, what information they gained, and how they utilize that information to raise money around the country with their donors.
He said it is relevant to the powers the state has to protect consumers from fraud.
And it's not surprising when it really is just a fundraising operation under the guise of something very different. But yet they are paying those organizations that they wanted to be able to identify as hate groups and then fundraising off of that same information. Clearly there is a conflict there, and that's what we're looking to uncover.
See more news at afn.net.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildman and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Nurse Mama Show, prescribing hope for healthy families here on American Family Radio. Here's your host, Professor, Pediatric Nurse Practitioner, and Mama for Dr. Jessica Peck.
Well, hey there, friends, and welcome to my favorite time of day with one of my favorite guests in one of your favorite series that we do. Yes, this means this is an installment of the Declutter Diaries. If you've been listening along, we actually started this last January. We've been doing it about a year and a half. I had intended to feature Kathi Lipp once a month for a year, but at the end of that year, I realized, oh my, I'm just getting started on my own decluttering journey and I need some more help. And apparently you all did too. So look for, on Facebook, look for Kathi Lipp's Clutter-Free Academy. Now she spells her name Kathi, Kathi Lipp's Clutter-Free Academy. Tell her you're my friend. She will let you in for free and you can join that group that is working on this even more so. And you can go back and listen to any of the Declutter Diaries here. She will be with us in just a second to talk about something that I'm hearing a lot of parents talk about. Have you heard this word or this term? Are you ready? Maycember. Have you heard Maycember? I have seen it all over social media. I have heard moms talking about it. Basically, Maycember is this term for a somewhat magical season between May 1st and the last day of school, where every parent suddenly becomes an unpaid Uber driver, an event coordinator, a snack distributor, a costume designer, and an emotional support human. And people say Summer is almost here. Really, that is just a myth that we're telling ourselves to survive the month of May. May feels like to me December without the joy, without the pumpkin spice, without the Christmas movies, without the peppermint, without the hot cocoa. I mean, it's just, at least in December, we have some of those joys. And May is just sign up Genius links and melted Capri Suns and unexpected horrors found in lunchboxes that are coming home. And you feel like you get these notifications. Don't forget, it's field day. It's neon day. It's bring 24 individually wrapped treat day. It's teacher appreciation luncheon day. It's band banquet day. It's award ceremony. It's spirit week. It's volunteer opportunity, which really feels like we're just being told voluntold to do stuff. And at this point, I think the school just spins a giant wheel every night and just decides, what can we have parents do tomorrow? What can we add on there? And now we have Spirit Week that requires a master's degree in crafting. I mean, it is just like, I was here seeing some reels and jokes. Like Tuesday is dress like your favorite historical figure who also represents inner resilience. And I barely have any of that myself. There's so many emails. There's so many last minute requests. There's so many things. And we have emotional whiplash as well, because all of a sudden it's like they come home, we start looking at the first day of school pictures. Oh, they're so grown. They're so big. If you are with me, if you are a parent who is standing there, holding a clipboard or a sign-up Genius, and one of your eyes is twitching and you're surviving on drive-through coffee and pajama drop-offs, like you're wearing your pajamas, somehow you are going to make it. So we are going to talk with Kathi about this end-of-year chaos and clutter that comes with it. Kathi, so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us again and helping us along this journey.
Well, you know that this is one of my favorite days of the month. And yeah, Maycember, I've just heard about this recently, but it is so for real, isn't it?
It is like Jinx.
It's just wild. And let's be honest, most of your listeners are women. This is falling to the women in your audience for the most part. There are some great guys out there who are sharing the load, but for so many and I don't know where everybody thinks that we get this additional ability to have a part-time job in May, but our part-time job, you said it, Uber driver, bakery chef, the list goes on and on and on. And let's just say that doesn't count if maybe your kids have struggled in school. And there's that aspect of it. Or maybe there is a physical limitation that your child has. Or let's be honest, an emotional or social limitation that can bring up even more for our kids. And it brings up a lot for us. And so I think if we can just take, I feel like as it is with December, it is with May, that if we can take an hour and pull back and take a deep breath and plan a little bit, that's going to save us 5 to 10 hours when the rubber hits the road. And so this is your call.
And you're going to tell us how to do it, because I'm thinking about, this is a lot of physical clutter that comes in May, Kathi, but it is a lot of emotional clutter too. And there may be some families out there who think, man, I wish I was still in that stage of life. Well, if you are not in that stage of life yourself, listen, there are ways that you can bless and encourage those who are. So Kathi, I want to start off the show by bragging on my husband a little bit, because I am in this Maycember mode, because I've got, kids who are moving in and out and college transitions and all of that. So it doesn't end when they graduate. I've seen a lot of what's fed to me in my social media is that, dorm clean out, all of that. I feel all of that. And regardless, I'm just feeling the personal pressure of, okay, I'm about to have a lot of stuff come in my house when my kids come back and move in for the summer. So I was texting my husband and man, it was a little unhinged. It was just like, blah, 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 like, here's a download of my brain. And as soon as I sent it, I thought, why did I send that? Like that was not wise. I'm not going to get the reaction that I'm looking for. This is just going to make him stressed and make me, feel like, why did I do that? Kathi, he texted me back and he said, man, that sounds crazy. What can I do to help? And I was like, Oh my gosh, you have just helped me so much right now. So
Right.
I'm telling you, husbands, that is for free. I'm telling you, we don't always get it right, but my husband got it right today. So if your wife texts you about all of this Maycember craziness, I'm just telling you, if you just tell her, hey, that sounds crazy. That is a lot of stuff to handle. What can I do to help? Instead of, you'll get through it. It'll be fine. It's not that big of a deal. You don't have to worry about this. You put this on yourself. These are all some of the prior conversations that we have had. But, which is true. And honestly, those things are true too. But I just wanted to give him a shout out for that.
We love that Rocket Man knew what to do, took it off your plate. I love that. And often that is what will help us most in May, right? Just knowing that it's not all up to us. And of course it's not, because we have our child's teachers. We have sometimes other parents in that room. But if you live with other adults in your house, knowing that you're not alone is absolutely huge. And it's not just knowing you're not alone, but actually having some of that burden relieved.
Well, that's one thing that I think is hard for moms to ask for help. And one of the things I think about is, that end of year, like little gift, like you're supposed to bring little treats or something. And Kathy, I'm not good at that kind of thing. I really am not. And so for a long time, I would let it stress me out. And then my sweet, sweet, amazing sister-in-law, she's incredible at that. And she was like, let me do it for you. I would love to do this. And so she did it. And man, it was a win-win, because she got to serve from her gift. And I got to show up at the school and be like, yeah, here, this is what I brought. And I didn't do any of it. So I think that we need to help each other out. And one of those big points of conflict that's about to hit a lot of homes, Kathy, is bringing home the backpack and the lunchbox after you've cleaned out the locker or the desk for the year. And we are talking about like broken headphones and crumpled papers and moldy oranges. And it is going to send some mamas over the edge. So talk us off the cliff, Kathy.
Yeah. So I think knowing that backpack is going to come home in whatever condition it is. And I want everybody to not feel guilty. If you know you're not going to use that lunchbox next year, if you were just limping along until the last day of school, you don't need to save it just in case. It's okay to pitch that. If it's given you what it needs to give you and it's tired, throw it away now instead of having to make that decision in August when clear everything out you can. And well, you bring up something really important. The most important thing you can do is actually clean it out, because I have come to that. I have come back to that lunchbox that I was sure that was cleaned out. So just make sure that is a big old check mark. But I know your kid is so excited to forget about school and jump into summer, and so are you. But to really go through that backpack and just say, is there anything in here we need to keep? That's the question. Is there anything we need to keep? It's not what do we need to get rid of? It's what do we need to keep? And keep, so you can curate exactly what you need instead of keeping it all and trying to find places for it. Is there a painting or an art project that you really like? Or is there a test you're really proud of? Or do we need to keep that George Washington Carver book report, because maybe you guys spent a lot of time and AI had no hand in it. You did it all. So I think it's precious to keep a little sample of their writing when they were in second grade, but you don't need to keep all the samples.
You know what I'm thinking, Kathy? This might be really good, because I'm thinking about as a mom and knowing how I am at the beginning of summer. I am like ready to get to the end, but I'm ready for summer and I'm ready for some projects. And this sounds like this might be actually a fun thing that you could schedule for the beginning of summer, is have a backpack clean out time. Everybody brings their backpack to the table.
Yep.
Have some fun snacks, give them an incentive. I'm not calling it a bribe. It's an incentive. Incentives are perfectly totally appropriate, and say, once we finish this, we'll go to the park, we'll go, get a special treat or whatever it is, that you want to do. We can have a movie night. It doesn't have to cost you anything. But I'm thinking it would be great just to bring everybody to the table. Go ahead and put that on your calendar, because as a mom, I'm thinking it would be so nice to know, like, do I need to get a lunchbox for next year? Do I need to be on the lookout for that? Or is this one going to be washed and ready to go? Do we need a new backpack, or is this one going to be okay? Like you said, I really want to go back to that decision making, Kathi, because that's what this all comes down to. I think we put it off because those decisions that come with the end of the school year and seeing some of those emotions, we're like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, so just stuff it in the backpack. But it's not going to make the decision-making any easier when you come back to it. I think you'll be more frustrated when you're trying to pull it out from under the bed and then you find, oh, great, it's full of ants.
Right. Well, and I think that this is a perfect time to institute the phrase, in our family, we. So if in our family, we buy a new backpack every year, just know that, and there may be some other child who needs that backpack and your child doesn't need it. Or in our family, we hand down our backpacks, but that means the younger child gets a say. You have to compromise on what that older kid is getting as a backpack because it's going to be theirs at some point. Or in our family, we don't have cartoons on our lunchbox because you're going to outgrow that in a year. So or in our family on May 28th, what we're doing is we're cleaning out our backpacks. And if there's anything alive in there, mom doesn't deal with it, you do. And so just to say, hey, this is how we deal with things. Like one of ours was in our family. In California, we have the mission report. It's a big deal here. It's like a 3-month report on one of the missions going up and down California. And so the kids would work on this for 3 months. The parents would also work on it for 3 months. You were building a mission, whether it was out of popsicle sticks or sugar cubes or pipe cleaner, whatever it was. And in our house, when we were done with it, we would display it until the grandparents came, and then we would take a picture and it would go away. And so
that's a great idea, Kathi. We're already at the first break. That is a great idea. We're just getting started. When we come back, Kathi, I want to talk to you about this May mental load audit, where we're going to really name what's on our plate before it even buries us. We know the backpack is coming. We'll talk about some of those other ways that we can kind of scan and plan so that we are not taken off guard and lose our mind over clutter that drives us crazy in the summer. We'll be right back with more from Kathi Lipp. Find her on Facebook, and we'll see you right after the break.
With Mother's Day now just behind us, it's a great time to re-emphasize the importance of marriage. Defending the model of one man and one woman's easy. Whether examined historically, physiologically, emotionally, economically, or morally, God's model for marriage is superior to any other. Hello, I'm Sam Rohrer with the American Pastors Network and a timely Stand in the Gap Minute. This week I'll share 5 biblical principles for the defense of marriage. The first principle is that marriage is God's idea. God's model is best because God alone is our creator, and it's His right to set the standard. Our opinion doesn't really matter. We have no vote. But we do have a choice. As the source of all authority, God's plan for male and female, marriage, human sexuality, and children and family prevails. Only He has the right to legitimately define it and to demand that we observe it. Will you join with us at Stand in the Gap Radio and TV and embrace, defend, and live out God's plan for marriage? Visit us at AmericanPastorsNetwork.net.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
When I was feeling the stress of too much credit card debt, I looked at two different options: debt settlement and debt management. They may sound the same, but guess what? They're not. Debt settlement seemed like a quick fix, but I found out it would destroy my credit, create tax headaches, and hit me with huge fees. They actually told me to stop paying my bills. No way, not me. Then I turned to a debt management plan developed by the team at Trinity. They worked with my creditors, lowered my payments, reduced my interest, saved me thousands, and paid off my debt. And Trinity is a Christian company, which is important to me.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-788-1813.
This is John MacArthur inviting you to join me for Portraits of Grace. Do you realize that your prayers really do make a difference with God? Many people neglect prayer or don't pray fervently enough because they think it doesn't matter, that God will impose His will on them regardless of whether they pray or not. They don't understand His sovereignty, however, or His loving character. Consequently, they tend to pray with passive resignation, indifference, or even resentment. But James 5:16 tells us that godly prayer does make a difference, as when God honored Elijah's prayer and withheld rain for 3.5 years. So commit yourself to praying expectantly, knowing that God is gracious and wise and always responds for His glory and your good. This is John MacArthur, trusting your lives are portraits of grace.
How I long to breathe the air of heaven, where pain is gone and mercy fills the streets. To look upon the one who bled to save me and walk with Him for all eternity. There will be a day when all will bow before Him. There will be a day when death will be no more. Standing face to face with He who died and rose again. Holy, holy is the Lord.
Welcome back, friends. That is Hymn of Heaven by Phil Wickham. Definitely one of my favorite top 10 songs right now in my list of 142 songs that are squeezed into my top 10. I love that song. And I love my guest today, Kathi Lipp. She is being so gracious. She is a decluttering expert, and she is helping us on this series we're calling the Declutter Diaries. And today we're breaking down a phenomenon I'm hearing called May-cember. You know it. It is all of the emails about all of the end of year stuff. And maybe you don't have kids who are in school, but you're getting the graduation invitations and you're going to graduation parties or end of year concerts. Maybe you're going to hear your grandchildren play the recorder in a group of, hundreds of students, which who thought that was a good idea, by the way? But every teacher, every coach, every booster club, every church group, every room parent, we are emailing like this is the Olympics. Like this is tough stuff here. And maybe your kid's coming to you saying, hey mom, tomorrow I need a poster board and 6 cupcakes and safety pins and green face paint and a shoebox. And you're like, okay, here we go. Is this like, are you building tiny houses? Are we still doing dioramas? Like, what is this? And you think, everything's got on the same night. Maybe you have choir, a concert, and baseball tournament, and you're trying to decide who goes well and who goes where. And your grocery bill is, going crazy because you got to buy 48 juice boxes. It is a lot of stuff. And we're talking to Kathi about this mental load. We know what's there, but we kind of just go into survival mode. How can we do better, Kathi, about planning for summer and taking care of some of this clutter that comes with all of these end of year activities and just taking an audit and naming what's on our plate before we just get steamrolled by it.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess that most of our listeners here have their summer plans. They know what their kids are going to be doing. They know what they're doing, whether they're working and their kids are going to camp, or everybody's going to be home and there's going to be some vacation Bible schools thrown in. What we know what the plan is going to be. And so I really would love for you to take a step back and say, if this was similar to last year, what was the stressful part? Was it the mornings where I was just trying to get humans out the door? Was it because there was no breakfast plan? Just look back or imagine forward. If this is new for you, what do you imagine? Like, is it going to be, I don't know what's going to be for dinner, or they're going on a different field trip every week, and so I need to plan for that. And so I think part of it is just imagining forward or thinking back, what's going to be the most stressful and what can I do in order to alleviate that stress? And more importantly, what can my partner do and what can my kiddos do? And every year, your child should be gaining some responsibility. Obviously, there are kids who have different levels of, we take all of that into consideration. Absolutely. But can your 16-year-old fill out most of the forms for summer camp? And you just have to look over them and add in the doctor's name, etc., and then put the doctor's name on your kid's phone, send it to them so they have that for next time. Every year, our kids should be growing in what they are able to do. I don't know if I've told this story here, Jessica, but when my daughter went off to college, she spent more time than she should have her first week teaching other kids how to do laundry. Because so many of these kids were so focused on getting into school that they didn't do the stuff that the rest of us, who maybe weren't as academically advanced, were doing. And so we want our kids' skills to grow with their age. And so to think about, could they be learning some skills this summer as well? Can my 14-year-old be cooking dinner once a week? Could my 8-year-old learn how to sort all the laundry? So I want you to do things that, at first are going to take way too much time. It's like so much easier to just do it yourself. But when your kids figure out, oh, mom's not giving up on this, I actually do have to cook dinner on Thursdays. And eventually that will be a burden off of you for that one night a week. And so growing our kids, growing their skills, talking to your husband or wife, whoever is listening right now, and to say, this is what I'm going to need for this summer, because your needs are going to shift. And so let's make sure that not all that shifting lands on you.
This is a really good food for thought, because I'm thinking ahead and I'm thinking behind, Kathi. I'm thinking back in my life and thinking ahead to what is going to happen in the lives of so many listeners this summer. And so much of what you're talking about with some of the clutter is when mom or dad feels like, they have to put everything on themselves. Like, I've got to do everything, and we're not leveraging our kids. And I don't say leveraging them, but really helping them developmentally. Yeah. They need that responsibility. They need that feeling of confidence and competence. Those are two of the 7 C's that are really the key building blocks of resilience. Like, when we're looking at this from a scientific way, and you're so right in calling it out that at first it may take more time, but if you invest in that, then that's going to help you run a more clutter-free home, especially going into the fall. I'm a big fan of poster boards. I know I was just hating on the poster boards because we need one, but when my kids were this age, Kathi, I just put a big, giant poster board. It was not very tech friendly, and we would work on skills that each kid was learning during the summer. And even if they're just learning to make a simple meal, like they're learning to make pancakes, now they can make pancakes themselves, or they can make spaghetti or whatever it is, just something simple that, hey, this is your meal, you know how to make it, and you can make it and you can contribute. It's about evening, the workload and having everybody contribute, but it really is about raising confident kids who are learning life skills. And I feel like we're kind of losing that a little bit. So I think talking now about making that a plan, incorporating that into some fun, I think that would be a great idea to do.
Yeah. So Jessica, you don't want to say the word leverage as in leverage your child. I'll be happy to say it. Okay.
Okay.
Because our goal is to grow adults.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to get at least physically easier as our kids get older. And we want to get to the point where there is not a huge gap between the time they move out of the house and the time, living at home and moving out. There shouldn't be this huge learning gap. So if by the time they are 18 and say they may be going off to college and eventually they're going to be in an apartment with somebody else, or maybe they're going straight into a trade and they've just, their learning curve, they're going to be living someplace else. Can they know how to cook 5 different meals? Can they do their laundry without ruining their clothes? Can they clean a kitchen in a way that makes it not just by watching, because you don't learn by osmosis, you learn by doing. And so all of those are going to contribute, because by the time you have a 16 to 18-year-old, you have, in some ways, not always, another adult living with you. They're still teenagers, but they're fully capable of these things. And that's what we want for them. We don't want them to just be smart academically. We want them to be smart in household. This is also a great time during the summer to help them learn budgeting. And budget, do they have a little summer job, or are you giving them X amount of dollars for them during the summer, and to help them budget that, to say, hey, if you blow it all the first week, you're going to be really sad the last 3 weeks. So let's figure out what 4 weeks in a month looks like.
I'm sure my listeners think that I love to hate on AI, and I've been talking a lot about AI, artificial intelligence, in the last year or so, and I will be talking about it quite a bit this summer. There are some benefits of AI, and one of the things that I'm really reading about, Kathi, is that AI might be an equalizer of sorts. Like families who have more resources, who have more financial means, they're able to hire planners, or, even to the point of chefs or meal planners, or, just all of these kinds of resources that they may have to plan their lives and make them easier. And AI is a place where, as we're talking, Kathi, I think this might be helpful for parents as a starting point, to go to AI and say, okay, help me brainstorm what life skills my kids need to learn. They're this, they're this old, they're this age. Help me create a plan, a fun plan for helping them to develop these life skills that at the same time are going to minimize your frustration. Because Kathi, my cheeks will burn when I think about some of the ways I have just lost my mind over finding clean clothes in the dirty clothes hamper, or, finding clothes that I have washed and cleaned and then they're not put away, or just all of those things where kids, if they learn to do those chores, when you walk into their room, their bed is made, their laundry hamper is taken care of. Those are the kinds of things that give parents sanity and give them breathing room for connection and for fun. And so I would encourage parents to really think about, what would it mean to invest in that this summer, in a way that's fun, in a way that's incentivized, in a way that helps your kids to really contribute to the work of the family in a developmentally appropriate way, in a way that they should. Because I'll tell you, I'm in the stage of parenting where my kids are going off to college, and my kids they know how to do their own laundry and all of those kinds of things. And they have called me just rolling, telling me about trying to walk some of their, dorm mates through, like, okay, you've never touched a washer before. Like, let's go through the basics here and talk through this. But I think that would be a fun thing to do. How do you see that, Kathi, is contributing to a clutter-free home?
Oh, absolutely. I think the more that we are able to engage our kids in let's talk about preparing dinner, right? Uh, Preparing dinner also means cleaning up from dinner. And when they see the work that goes into that, they're going to start to see, oh my goodness, I would rather do spaghetti, which technically could be done in one pot if you needed it to be, than something that's going to require a bunch of different dishes and all of that kind of stuff. It helps them think in new and strategic ways. I also think everybody in my house remembers the day that I found, like you just said, folded clothes in my son's laundry. They all remember it. It was not my finest parenting moment.
It hurts.
Right? But
Yeah.
what you just did, my darling Justin, was throw away my time. And you threw away my time. And so that will not happen again. We're both going to make sure that doesn't happen again. So you will be creating clean clothes for yourself. And I just know when there's a learning curve, obviously, but when they can get to a point where they're doing a week's worth of clothes at one time, or maybe they're doing it twice a week, they're going to be more careful about, can I wear those jeans again? Maybe I don't throw my sweatshirt in there every single day. Maybe I don't throw the clean folded clothes into the dirty clothes because I don't feel like it. And so when mom says you need to clean out the drawers so you have a place to put those clothes away, they start to make those connections, because before it was like, clean out the drawers, why would I do that? But now when they say, oh, because I don't have a place to put my clothes right now. And some kids are going to get this sooner than others. It's different learning curves for different kids, but they all eventually do get it, because they all eventually have to do all these things on their own.
Kathi, there's always a therapy element when we talk. And I just wrote down what you said, because that is a major epiphany to me. I think that might be one of the most brilliant things you've said in all of our conversations. You threw away my time. That's why I was so angry. You know what? That actually makes me feel so much better, because, you beat yourself up and you think, I didn't have self-control. I didn't have patience. I didn't have kindness. And those things are all true. I mean, I wasn't patient. I wasn't kind. I didn't have self-control. That is true. But the underlying reason is because it's our time. And Kathi, time is the most precious commodity that any parent has. When we think about the time, I think it's 5,742 days from the time your child is, I don't know where that just came from the back of my brain. I'll have to check myself.
That's impressive.
But if that is right, I'll be really impressed with myself. But I think it is that. It's either 742 or 472, but it is a limited number of days that you have with your kids from the time that they're born till they turn 18. You've got 18 summers, you've got 18 Christmases, 18 birthdays. And in that time, we're trying to put food on the table and get them to soccer practice and get them to school and do all of the things that are necessary to help them thrive. But we want that time to connect. And when they throw away the time, it says, hey, you don't realize how precious that is to me and how precious you are to me. I'm thinking of a million ways to reframe this. I'm going to need a minute. So y'all take a minute too and come back after the break, and we'll have more with Kathi Lipp.
When you hear this
is American Family News.
You know what follows is the truth. Your news from a Christian perspective.
Hundreds of teachers are going to have to walk into that school building, and they are forced to swallow political ideology that in many cases violates their very faith and conscience.
If you miss it at the top of the hour, American Family News podcasts are available at afn.net. And sign up for our daily news brief at afn.net. AFA Stream is a resource for life-changing instruction and information, a source of wholesome entertainment and relaxation, plus access to some of your favorite AFA shows. You can watch a lot of content for free, or you can become a Great Commission partner. Then you'll not only open the door to everything AFA Stream has to offer, you'll get benefits like a subscription to The Stand and some really nice exclusives. Why not get started today? It's easy. Visit stream.afa.net.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven. You can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted, it works, it's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 833-44-BIBLE. That's 833-44-BIBLE. 833-44-BIBLE.
America was founded as a nation under God, but the U.S. Supreme Court has broken our national relationship with God. Many court rulings have contributed, but 3 stand out. In 1962, the court removed prayer from public schools. In 1963, the court removed Bible reading from public schools. And lastly, in 1980, the court removed the 10 Commandments from America's classrooms. The Supreme Court broke our relationship with God, and any restoration of that relationship must include the Supreme Court. And a vacancy on the Supreme Court could soon be coming. So please support AFA Action's urgent legal work to help President Trump select and the U.S. Senate confirm godly constitutional justices for the Supreme Court. We put thousands of hours of research into potential nominees. We use our networks at the Trump administration and the U.S. Senate to promote the good nominees and oppose the bad ones. AFA Action needs the resources of supporters like you to help maximize our efforts. So please visit afaaction.net to learn more and donate today.
Welcome back, friends. That is In Jesus' Name by Darlene Scheck. And I hope on this Wednesday afternoon, it is lifting your spirits. We are halfway through the week. And believe it or not, we're almost halfway through the month of May. December. I cannot believe this. We're talking about this phenomenon where it seems like May is just as busy as December is. But there's no gingerbread cookies and there's no, hot cocoa and Christmas movies and twinkle lights. And y'all know that I am all about Christmas. So I will say we are going to have a Christmas in July, but I will leave Christmas there. But it feels like we are in that kind of crunch. And I'm talking on this installment of the Declutter Diaries with decluttering expert Kathi Lipp. And before I go on and before I forget, Kathi, because I will, tell everybody, I've already told them, but you tell them how to get into your Facebook Academy.
Yeah, so if you just search on Facebook, Clutter Free Academy, it'll pop up, Kathi Lipp's Clutter Free Academy. And in there, we have these discussions. We talk about What are you doing here at the end of the school year? We talk about all these things because we just know that all of us are going through it at the same time. And people post their pictures, before and afters. It's a wonderful, supportive, kind place. So we would love to have you there. Our Dr. Nurse Mama listeners are the kindest people over there. They're so encouraging. We love to have you. So just ask to join and we'll ask you a couple of questions. Just say Dr. Nurse Mama. We're going to let you in, okay?
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love hearing that about my listeners. I know it to be true, but it's always nice when somebody else says it. So thank you so much for that invitation, Kathi. And you know, ever since you said that, I'm going to go back to what you said before the break, because I was talking about this phenomenon that I think every mom can relate to. My producer's sitting here and she's like, yep, this is me. Just that moment where you find something that your kids haven't done, whether it's stuff that is stuffed under the bed, like you think the room's clean, but then all of a sudden you look, and as you alluded to earlier, Kathi, like there may or may not be furry critters or scaly critters that are underneath there. Or you look in the laundry basket and the clean laundry that you've just washed and dried and folded is stuffed in there with the dirty clothes, meaning you're going to have to redo it. Or, you know, you go in the bathroom and you open the cabinet and everything's all gross and messy. You lose your mind. Every mom, I think, has been there. But you said something so powerful, Kathi. You said, what you did, darling, was throw away my time. And sometimes they're throwing away time. And honestly, sometimes they're throwing away money. And when you're a mom and you're managing a household and money is tight and you see something that is ruined, something that is lost, and you're having to buy something else and you know how tight your budget is, I have definitely been there. That can be really infuriating. And that just leads us all back to, Kathi, what it means, how we really need to raise kids who are responsible, who do contribute in a developmentally appropriate way, what they're doing at chores. And even starting at 4 or 5, you know, kids can help to unload the dishwasher. They can put away silverware. They can sort that. They can help bring dirty laundry to the laundry room. And this may be something you can even talk to your primary care provider about and say, like, okay, what chores should my kid be able to do at this age? And there's lots of resources out there. But I talk with parents about this all the time, like what's realistic to expect them to be able to do, because you want to set them up for success. But I'm thinking how this summer it might be really fun for some families to incentivize some life skills and then to be able to show those off to each other, what they're able to do and contribute, and keep track of the time that you're having. And maybe that's the incentive is, hey, however many minutes you spend doing the chores here, that's how many minutes we'll set aside for fun days or, you know, to do something fun. I am all about incentives, Kathi. What else? What other words of wisdom do you have to add to us on this?
Well, and I think there are some chores that you just do because you're part of a family. You know, those age appropriate, you know, those 3 things you do every day as a child because you are part of a family. But I also think if there's a child maybe a little bit older who's actually taking a burden off, to be able to say, I was fine with paying my kids. If I didn't have to, you know, like if we didn't have to take the car to be washed, we'll give you that money. I don't care how the car gets washed, but if you do it, you get the money. And so, and a car wash is not cheap these days, at least not where I live. So I think that there are so many things that we can do to say, hey, let's all be in this together. And I feel like summer is that time to start putting those patterns, those grooves into place, because during the school year, especially May, it's too much to pile more new stuff on top of it. But taking that deep breath and say, okay, starting at June 1st, here are the things we're going to be learning. And we're going to learn these things together. And I think that there are some kids who are going to say, I want to take those cooking lessons. And so, you know, sending them to junior chef school could work for everybody, right? My mom never had to bake anything from the time I was 13 on because I love doing it. And that's part of what we want for our kids. That's why we send them to all these summer camp, help them discover their own passions. And so I know when we're thinking about decluttering, how this all ties in together is when there is too much clutter in the house, it raises anxiety for everybody. You know, the UCLA study about raising cortisone levels. I hope I'm saying that right.
Mm-hmm.
Raising cortisone levels for women. I always forget if it's raising or lowering, but you're saying it's raising. Yes. Clutter raises cortisone levels for women, and sometimes to a dangerous amount. We know that clutter is affect, and it doesn't do the same thing in men, which is really interesting. That's why women are struggle more, I think, with clutter than men do. And so to be able to say, hey, we can do these fun things, but there needs to be a baseline, because otherwise your brain is pinging on all those unfinished loops. And we want mom to enjoy her summer too. What this is, even if you don't get a break from work or a break from childcare, it's a time for something different. And I want you to be able to enjoy that as well. But that means that we all have to pitch in. And, you know, a 3-year-old's not going to pitch in very much, but they can learn, you know, we're going to take the toys over to this basket. Those things can be taught and they can be learned.
You know, I'm thinking about what you said, and yes, it's well documented. When we look at stress levels and when we look at the labs of that, it's a cortisol level that we're looking at. And Kathi, this is why everything is so connected and why I'm so invested in this. For me as a nurse practitioner, I look at that and think about something like cortisol. And when you have stress hormones that are this constant underlying stress, because your house is disorganized and you can't find what you need, and you know, you're having to redo laundry because your kids don't put it away and your kids aren't doing the chores like they're supposed to, it creates this chronic underlying stress that's not like a big T trauma, a big thing that's happened. It's just kind of that little T trauma, that chronic stress that is there. And when we look at that, what that does to our bodies, Kathi, we also know that elevated cortisol levels make it harder to lose weight. It impacts our blood vessels. It gives us more inflammation. It increases our blood pressure. It tanks our immune system. I mean, so when, you know, I'm thinking of the phrase like, when mama's not happy, ain't nobody happy.
Right.
Like that is why, and this is a deeply physical, emotional, spiritual experience. And sometimes it can be hard. I think dads can come in, you know, after they've been maybe at work, especially if you have a mom who's working at home. You and I were talking about this during the break, Kathi. I think there's a lot of stay-at-home moms who just feel very undervalued. And if you really look at what what they're doing and what they're contributing in the home, like you couldn't afford to hire somebody to do all of those things for you. And then on top of that, even moms who work outside the home and also are doing all of those things in the home.
Right.
And dad comes home, you know, and all of a sudden it's just like, boom, this fireworks explosion. And he's like, what is going on? I think giving ourselves some grace and recognizing that, hey, this is something that really impacts us. And one of the reasons, Kathi, that I have invested, and I'm so grateful you have accepted the invitation to continue this conversation, because I really believe this issue is impacting families so much more than we realize and so much more than we admit. And sometimes just naming it and claiming it can be that first step forward. And you've presented summer as this really beautiful slate of opportunity for us.
Yeah. So first of all, I think I said cortisone instead of cortisol. Please forgive me.
It's the same, but it's the same thing, same difference.
Oh, is it really?
Well,
okay.
it's cortisone, but when we do the lab, it's cortisol. So you may see either one.
Okay. I feel better about it now that I didn't just mislead your entire audience. Please
You're all good.
I'm not the doctor. Jessica is.
You're all good. Nurse practitioner right here to help out.
But I think often the women who are exploding, and of course I'm not excusing, but I understand, because I remember feeling all alone. And we look at the story of Mary and Martha. You know, Jesus didn't say, don't do much. Jesus says, don't do too much. And so many of us are doing too much because nobody is stepping up to partner with us. And so we have to be able to have these honest conversations. If we don't want the explosion, we need to say, hey, either we need to take some things off our plate or add some other people to our team. These are the only options we have, because otherwise it is that place of not feeling valued for your very important, very valuable work. it's huge. It's huge in so many marriages I know.
It absolutely is. And when we think about the emotions of this, like I said, there's a lot of emotional clutter that comes with this, Kathy. We think about, just this kind of avalanche of emotions. And for me, summer was always so precious because I feel like it was a little pause. Like my kids didn't grow up during summertime because they weren't as much around their peers and they were free to be kids and they weren't learning new skills or learning new things. It was just like a little pause. And I loved coming into that, and it's hard to come out of that, but there's a lot of just emotional triggers that can happen in that. And so staying calm through it and really sitting down and recognizing, okay, what are my triggers? What is it that makes me, that makes me tick? I think, Kathy, if moms are thinking, well, what is that? Or even dads are thinking, like, what is that makes me crazy? Because like my husband's trigger is like, if he's been at work all day and he comes home during the summer and the kids have been cooking in the kitchen or made lunch or whatever, and they've just left the kitchen a total mess and left that mess for somebody later to clean up, like he's not going to be happy when he walks in the door. And I think if you don't know what your triggers are, ask your kids. I'm sure that they will tell you, hey, what are the things that you do that make me crazy? Like they'll be able to tell you that. But this is a great time, I think, to plan that. Is this some of the kinds of things that you talk about in your Facebook group, Kathy?
Absolutely. We talk about all of these things, and it's where we can have honest conversations because oftentimes you don't want to say something out loud to the internet, but it's okay to say it in a closed private group and we can have real discussions. So yeah, we would love to continue this conversation.
Well, I appreciate it. And we have talked before about just the keep or give away. And you have given so many great ideas for how to curate, instead of just collect, curate the art. Because another social media trend I see, and I'll tell you, Kathy, I think of you every time I see it, when millennials will go and visit their parents' houses and they take these little videos and they say, hey, checking in with my fellow millennials, how's your inheritance going? And then they just show like just cabinets and cabinets full of junk or what they perceive to be junk. And I think about you, I think like, oh, Kathi Lipp could help you with that because we don't want to just collect stuff to give to our kids. We want to curate things they're invested in. We have talked about that. Well, Kathy, this has been such a great and encouraging conversation as always. And let me encourage my listeners, summer does not have to be a free-for-all. It also doesn't have to be a perfectly scheduled production. And I encourage you to sit down now and maybe even use AI. Maybe have your kids help you use AI, supervise them using it. I always recommend co-use and make sure you're supervising what your kids do. But maybe you can build some goals for life skills for your kids to learn that will help decrease the clutter in your home. Maybe you can build a summer rhythm, not a schedule, but something that works perfectly for your family. I hope you'll consider what Kathy and I talked about and have a backpack clean out day. Make it fun, have good snacks and play good music and do something fun afterwards and clean out those backpacks right at the end of the school year so that you are ready to go for the summer. But wherever you are in your clutter journey, I pray that the Lord will bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you and give you peace. And I was just thinking that it would be great. Maybe grandparents could teach their grandkids a life skill and say, hey, I want to teach you to do this summer. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. I'll see you right back here tomorrow.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.